50 years of NASA historic space program footage. A comprehensive history of the America's exploration of space, including the historic mission to the moon by Apollo 11, the flight of John Glenn in Friendship 7, the docking of Apollo and Soyuz, the scientific breakthrough of Skylab, the Challenger disaster, and more.
The heavens have always presented a challenge to man. Many secrets remain locked in space, secrets that have puzzled men for centuries. The search for knowledge about space is underway. Hundreds of scientific rockets and satellites have been launched. As the information is collected from space, it is made available to people all over the world. Already, startling and practical advances in many scientific fields have resulted. Projects such as these, information was obtained from scientific instruments in the rockets and satellites. Now, man himself is to follow these mechanical devices. Cape Canaveral, Florida, May 5th, 1961. U.S. Mercury astronaut Alan B. Shepard enters his spacecraft. Very shortly, he will be on his way into space. As the hatch goes on, two big questions come to your mind. Is the vehicle ready? Are you ready? Before the flight, Shepard had this to say.
I think the one thing that strikes me as I look back on the training program is that I have really developed a feeling of confidence. A confidence in the people with whom I work, a confidence in the systems with which I am dealing and will have to deal in flight, and of course, a confidence in myself.
You're confident, but you're human, and you go over the program just one more time. A feeling of confidence. It began to grow from the day you and your 6 fellow astronauts were selected from hundreds of volunteers. Confidence in the people of Project Mercury, the spacecraft, and the launch vehicle, and confidence in yourself. You were involved in the design of the Mercury system almost from the beginning, contributed ideas and modifications. You worked with the engineers, came to know the components and systems like you know your own car. And you followed the tests, test after test after test, to make sure the design did what it was supposed to do. While research and development was underway, you went through almost 2 years of training. You flew mission after mission in a trainer just like the craft you're sitting in today. Became completely familiar with every control and instrument. An academic program informed you and the other pilots on astronautics, space mechanics, and spaceflight. Kept you briefed on all new developments in the project. Zero-gravity flights in aircraft acquainted you with the condition of weightlessness you would encounter in flight. You got in a lot of centrifuge time, too. Today's flight won't submit you to any G-forces you haven't experienced before. The program simulated every possible situation. You know you're ready to react almost automatically. Practice controlling the craft attitude by manual control of pitch, roll, and yaw jets. That will be part of your mission today, and you're confident that you can do it. You piled up plenty of experience in the three-dimensional rotation. You know that even if tumbling situations occur after separation, you can bring the craft under control with your manual control system. There were continuing flights in high-performance aircraft. They were important to you, too. You're an experienced test pilot. Flying is your business in any type of craft. You remember extensive training in escape and survival techniques. There is always the slight chance the spacecraft may land outside the pre-planned area. As you sit in the spacecraft, waiting for launch, you know your training has covered every conceivable eventuality, every emergency, no matter how unlikely. As Project Mercury got underway, production of Redstone launch vehicles began at the Marshall Space Flight Center. Careful, individual production of vehicles earmarked for Mercury from the day the first bolt came into the plant. The Redstone was available, and with modifications it would do the job. At the McDonnell Aircraft Company plant at St. Louis, just 3 months after project inception, prototype spacecraft production was begun. A few short months later, production spacecraft were being completed. Your trips to the production points were important. You became thoroughly familiar with the Mercury systems. The closer you got to the system, the more confident you became. You followed the flight test program closely. Components, then systems, then prototypes, then production craft. A pyramid of testing. A pyramid of tests that would lead to manned flight. You knew that data and know-how was being gathered to reduce the risk element. Every flight, the recovery forces were exercised. Procedures were developed to locate the craft and retrieve it. It became obvious that the craft would not be in the water very long after landing. A chimpanzee named Ham and 2 monkeys successfully flown in the spacecraft indicated the feasibility of manned flight. Then, all this was behind, and you knew everything humanly possible had been done to minimize risk to you and to the other astronauts. It was time now for manned ballistic flight. Mercury Redstone 3. At Cape Canaveral, Launch Pad 5. Preparations for the MR3 flight began weeks before launch day. You went out and watched the Redstone slowly, carefully raised into place on the launch pad. You knew that you might be the pilot. For about 10 days prior to meeting with the spacecraft, the Redstone underwent exhaustive tests, inspections, and simulated launch operations. This vital part of the mission, the launch vehicle, must be as near perfect as man can make it before the spacecraft is installed. You and your fellow astronauts followed the test program closely. redstone was being checked, the spacecraft underwent test procedures at Hangar S, several miles from the launch pad. Test the electrical systems, the mechanical systems, communications, instrumentation, the sequential system. Verify flight readiness. You participated in many of the tests and checkouts yourself. You had worked closely with the vehicle for many months. If possible, you got even closer to it during the days just before launch. You worked with the Mercury engineers and technicians as they prepared the craft. The feeling of confidence in the mission became even stronger. Your fellow astronauts worked with the same team effort that had prevailed over the 2 years of getting ready. You couldn't be everywhere at once, but they could cover for you. And as you sit in the spacecraft, you know everything is as ready as it can possibly be. They covered the control center, the blockhouse, the launch vehicle, the tracking stations. They kept a finger on the pulse of the operation. The spacecraft was checked out in a pressure chamber capable of 120,000 foot altitudes to test the environmental control system. And then you were added to the system. You made sure that your pressure suit and the life support system were working properly. You knew that you weren't just going for the ride. You would be required to gather information, make practical contributions, make sure you collected usable data. You remember the final days in Hangar S, the retro rocket package being installed, and you know the care, the attention to every detail that went into the final servicing. The escape tower with its solid propellant rocket, the system which will pull the spacecraft safely clear of the launch vehicle before a catastrophic failure, either on the pad before launch, during the launch, or while the vehicle is in powered flight. It's a reassuring thought as you go through your pre-launch countdown. When each spacecraft system has been thoroughly checked out, a complete simulated launch and flight operation was run to make certain all the systems worked together as well as individually. And then the Mercury spacecraft was moved to the launch pad to be mated with its launch vehicle. At the pad, the spacecraft was raised to position on top of the vehicle. Now you knew that the final round of testing was at hand. This flight will provide added qualification for the spacecraft and its systems in space and train a pilot for later Atlas-boosted orbital flights. After mating, the testing began to make certain the launch vehicle, spacecraft, and blockhouse worked together properly. The launch countdown was checked step by step, and the complete MR3 system was verified to confirm flight readiness. Complete flight missions from liftoff through landing, both for normal and for emergency cases, were flown electronically. The spacecraft was heavily instrumented to provide pertinent data during the flight. Throughout this period, all the elements of the mission made their preparations. Recovery forces, tracking stations, the Mercury Control Center rehearsed the mission again and again. You and your fellow astronauts rehearsed your parts, went through the procedures over and over. 3 days before launch, a go, no-go review board evaluated the flight readiness of all the mission elements: spacecraft, launch vehicle, pilots, tracking stations, recovery forces, everything. The decision? Go. The recovery forces were dispatched and on their way to their stations downrange. May 1st, 1961. Less than 2.5 years from Project Mercury initiation. Countdown for a manned flight was in progress. That's a day that you'll never forget. MR3 followed a split countdown, about 4 hours the first day, a little over 6 hours the second day. This procedure helps reduce personnel fatigue. Hydrogen peroxide fueling. This is used in the spacecraft attitude control system. The first day's countdown was completed with this operation. Very early in the morning, May 2nd, the final countdown is underway. Liquid oxygen for the launch vehicle. Before this operation, a meeting had been held to review the weather situation. The weather was marginal, but the decision? Go. At the Mercury Control Center, every detail of the countdown and status of all other elements, such as the recovery forces and the tracking stations, was carefully monitored. The Mercury Operations Director manages the entire flight from the center. In the blockhouse, systems checks were completed in the spacecraft. Launch vehicle checks were also completed. The recovery forces were on station in a line along the flight path, ready to retrieve the craft even if there should be an undershoot or an overshoot. You remember the final physical at Hangar S, the feeling that now, at last, the time was almost at hand. And you remember the feeling of confidence that you had, confidence that all systems were ready, and that you were ready too. Before leaving the hangar for the launch pad, you had sensor leads attached to your body. These leads would provide telemeter data on your body functions and reactions during the flight. Mercury flights are designed to provide comprehensive information about man during space flight, information that can be used by people all over the world in their own research projects. And then it happened. You remember the let-down feeling you got when the squawk box gave the word. Test number 108, MR3, was scrubbed because of weather. A let-down feeling, yes, but it was reassuring to know that the mission would not go unless everything was right. Then it was Friday, May 5th, 3 days later, and the countdown was proceeding again. You remember the feeling you had that this was the day. There'd be no scrub today. The mission would go. You remember the ride to the pad in the transport van. You had rehearsed the procedure before, taken the ride to the pad, and climbed into the spacecraft. But this time, you knew it was the real thing. Feeling of confidence. As astronaut Shepard goes through the pre-launch countdown, he knows the system is as ready as human effort can make it. Doctors in the Mercury Control Center and the blockhouse monitor Shepard's physiological status during the countdown. Astronaut Gordon Cooper, assigned to the blockhouse during the launch operation, stays in direct voice contact with Shepard. As the gantry is pulled back, the emergency vehicle known as the cherry picker is raised into position. An armored car is located at the pad. It can operate in any terrain. At the viewing stands about 2 miles away, hundreds of press, radio, and television representatives stand by to witness the launch. A helicopter stands by to take a doctor anywhere he might be needed. Astronauts Carpenter and Schirra take off to make direct aerial observation of the early portion of your flight. An amphibious vehicle is standing by, ready to move out if necessary to make a close-in recovery. The recovery force helicopters are airborne. All elements of the mission have reported ready to the control center, and the launch is go.
Okay, to resume the count. Roger, ready to resume the count. STE, I'm going to turn it over to Stoney, verify. Resume the count. Okay, Stoney, take it over. Roger. 5 seconds. Loud and clear, Stoney.
Roger, loud and clear also. 1 minute and counting.
Roger.
Bearing command. 30, mark.
Roger, periscope has retracted.
That's confirmed periscope pick up.
Main bus 24 volts, 26 amps.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Roger, lift off and the clock is started. Yes, sir, reading you loud and clear. This is Freedom 7. The fuel is go, 1.2 G. Cabin at 14 PSI. Oxygen is go. Cabin pressure is holding at 5.5. Cabin holding at 5.5. Fuel is go, 2.5 G. Cabin 5.5. Oxygen is go. The main bus is 24, and the isolated battery is 29. Seven here. Fuel is go, 4G. 5.5 cabin. Oxygen go. All systems are go. Cut off. Power jettison green. Okay, switching to manual pitch. Pitch is okay. Switching to manual yaw. Yaw is okay. Switching manual roll. Roll is okay. On the periscope, what a beautiful view. Cloud cover over Florida, 3 to 4/10 near the eastern coast. Obscures up through Hatteras. Okay, this is Freedom 7. G build up. 3, 6, 9. Okay. 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 This is 7. Okay. 25,000 feet now. Roger. The drogue is green at 21. The periscope is out. The drogue is out. Okay, your drogue deploy, I've got 70%. Auto, 90% manual. Oxygen is still okay. And green. Main shield is raced. Main chute is green. Main chute is coming unreefed and it looks good. The main chute is good. Rate of descent is reading about 35 feet per second. Condition is still good. I'm getting ready for impact. Oh, roger.
MR3 followed a normal ballistic arc, peaking at about 115-mile altitude. The spacecraft landed 300 miles downrange. The complete flight took 16 minutes and gave Alan Shepard about 5 minutes of weightlessness. Just 11 minutes after the spacecraft landed, Shepard and the craft were on the Lake Champlain. Complete and detailed information on the flight and on Alan Shepard was recorded from launch to recovery. Information to be made available to scientists and interested people the world over. Within minutes after the flight, Shepard received a "well done" from the President on behalf of the people of the United States. A "well done" accepted by Shepard as a representative of all the people in Project Mercury. Project Mercury, another step in man's search for knowledge. Freedom 7, another step toward man in space.
Dawn, Cape Canaveral, Florida. A captain aboard a new kind of ship about to sail on a new kind of ocean, the vast, infinite ocean of space. Space, airless, endless, alien to man. But man is going there. January 27, 1962. In a little while, if all goes well, astronaut John Glenn will be rocketed aloft, borne into space on the shoulders of a 20th century Atlas, number 109D. At the base of the giant rocket, and 85 feet above in the green room atop the gantry, engineers and technicians have been busy throughout the night, and for many days and nights and weeks and months before. It began the day America decided to put a man into space, created Project Mercury to get him there and safely back. Project Mercury, America's all ahead, all at once, initial step in manned space exploration. October 1958. Project Mercury went to work. Assembled a team of scientists, engineers, and technicians to manage America's manned spaceflight programs, to select and train the men who would be the free world's first space pilots, the 7 Mercury astronauts. American industry went to work too. In January 1959, McDonnell Aircraft was chosen to produce the Mercury spacecraft. To lift it into orbit, Project Mercury selected the Atlas rocket. The task of modifying Atlas from a military missile to a man-rated orbital launch vehicle was assigned to General Dynamics Astronautics. To the 4,000 Mercury contractors and subcontractors, to all America, human life is priceless. Nothing was left to chance. All systems, each tiny component of each subsystem, every switch, every valve, would have to function perfectly, would have to be the very best that American scientific and engineering know-how could produce before the Mercury Atlas could be man-rated, before it could carry an American astronaut safely into space. Safety in new and strange devices. High acceleration and re-entry G loads in the human centrifuge. Then, the opposite of G loads, no Gs at all, or weightlessness. Training and manual control of the spacecraft. Practice roll, pitch, and yaw maneuvers. Survival training. Every conceivable situation, both normal and emergency, was covered. Astronautics, a new science. There were classes for the astronauts in astronomy, meteorology, geophysics, rocketry, astrophysics, celestial navigation, and there was plenty of homework. There was other work too. The astronauts participated as engineers in every aspect of the program. Each had a special area of responsibility in the development of Project Mercury. There were dozens of flight tests. Tests that confirmed the operation of spacecraft and booster systems in actual flight. And when there were difficulties, no one tried to hide them. Then, when the tests indicated that everything was ready, man was added. May 5, 1961. Astronaut Alan B. Shepard became the free world's first space pilot.
All right, lift off and the clock
Had indeed started. Free man was on his way into space. First with Redstone-powered ballistic flights downrange. Shepard in Freedom 7. And on July 25, 1961, astronaut Virgil Gus Grissom in Liberty Bell 7. These Redstone flights paved the way for the Atlas-boosted orbital missions. November 29, 1961. Mercury Atlas flight test number 5. A chimpanzee named Enos. Was orbited, tracked, and recovered unharmed, confirming that the Mercury spacecraft could sustain life in orbit. 1 hour after Enos was recovered, Project Mercury named astronaut John Glenn to pilot America's first manned orbital flight. Pre-launch preparations had already begun. Lengthy, detailed checkouts of the spacecraft systems, tests of the electrical circuits, tests and retests of the control system, the life support system, pressure, oxygen, cooling. Outside on launch pad number 14, the Atlas rocket, Atlas 109D, was raised into position. Launch time drew near. The spacecraft was gently placed atop the rocket. This would be a mission of science, a mission of peace. The name of the spacecraft, Friendship 7. Days and nights and weeks and months drew toward a climax. It was January 27, 1962, and the countdown for Mercury Atlas flight number 6, with John Glenn at the controls, was underway. But the weather was marginal. While the world watched and listened, Mercury's operation team made the difficult decision. The flight would not go today because of weather. Five hours in the Mercury spacecraft, and it was still no go. But there'd be another day, and there was. February 20, 1962, a day free men will never forget. 2:45 a.m., the countdown was underway again. A feeling of go was in the air. "3 a.m., Mercury doctors agreed the astronaut was go. Medical sensors, tiny devices to constantly monitor John Glenn's physical condition, were carefully attached. 4:30 a.m. The count was T-minus 120 minutes and holding. John Glenn wriggled into his snug-fitting spacesuit. 5:01 a.m. The trip to the launch pad. Six a.m., the long elevator ride up to the 11th deck of the gantry, where Friendship 7 waited. "6:03 a.m. 6:25 a.m., the count was resumed. From nearby beaches, thousands of visitors watched. And from the press site, a mile and a half from the launch pad, hundreds of newsmen, radio and television representatives broadcasted every drama-packed moment to the people of America and to every nation on Earth. 7:52 a.m. A broken hatch bolt was repaired, and the astronaut was sealed inside the spacecraft, alone. But alone only physically. 8:20 a.m. The gantry was rolled back, leaving Mercury Atlas Flight Number 6 poised like an arrow, aimed at the heavens. Downrange, the ships and aircraft of the recovery forces were ready. "8:58 a.m. A hold was ordered while a broken valve in the liquid oxygen fueling system was repaired. In the Mercury Control Center, the minutes ticked away. 9:23 a.m. The count was picked up. Around the world, the Mercury Tracking Network reported condition green.
All Mercury stations at T-5, side cone 8, and give status and green light on request. Ahmed, go. ECS, go. Sequence, go. Electrical, go. ASCS, go. RCS, go. Tom, go. TM, go. CO, go. Flight, go. Tony, go.
And the final moments, T-minus 30 seconds and counting.
You have firing signal. Godspeed, John Glenn. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Roger, the clock is operating. We're underway.
You're loud and clear.
Roger, we're programming and roll okay. A little bumpy along about here.
Roger, reading you loud and clear.
Roger, coming into IQ a little bit. That little contrail went by the window or something there.
Roger.
Fuel 102, 101, oxygen 78 to 101, amps 24, still okay. We're smoothing out some now, getting out of the vibration area.
Roger, you're through Max Q, flight path is...
Roger, feels good through Max Q and smoothing out real fine. Cabin pressure coming down by 7, okay, flight very smooth now. Sky looking very dark outside. Cabin pressure is holding at 6-1, okay.
Roger, cabin pressure holding at 6-1.
Coming up on 2 minutes. And fuel is 102, 101, oxygen 78, 102. G's are building to 6.
Roger, reading you loud and clear. Flight path looks good. Pitch 25, stand by for start.
Roger, Pico. Back to 1 1/4, the tower fired. Could not see the tower go. I saw the smoke go by the window.
Yeah, we confirm staging on TM.
Roger. Still have about 1.5 G's. Programming over. fuel 103, 101, oxygen 78, 100. All voltages above 25, amps 26.
All Roger, reading you loud and clear, 7. Cape is go. We're standing by for you.
Roger, Cape is go and I am go. Our capsule is in good shape. Seco. Lots of grades fired, okay.
I just asked.
Roger, 0G, and I feel fine. Capsule is turning around. Oh, that view is tremendous.
Roger, turnaround has started.
Roger, capsule turning around, and I could see the booster during turnaround just a couple of 100 yards behind me. It was beautiful.
Roger, 7. You have a go. At least 7 orbits.
Roger, understand go for at least 7 orbits.
Astronaut John Glenn is in orbit, 100 miles above the Atlantic. 17,545 miles an hour, 5 miles a second. 22 minutes after liftoff, lunchtime in space, over Kano, Nigeria. Across the emerging nations of Africa. Then Zanzibar. And out over the vast Indian Ocean into a sunset scene from space. 53 minutes after liftoff, Mouchet, Australia.
Roger, friendship 7. Mouchet, Capcom.
Roger, how you doing, Gordo? We're doing real fine up here. Everything is going very well, over.
Any symptoms of vertigo or nausea at all, over?
Negative, no symptoms whatsoever. I feel fine, over.
So,
Just to my right, I can see a big pattern of lights, apparently right on the coast. I can see the outline of a town and a very bright light just to the south of it. On down.
Rockingham, you're saying there.
Roger, the lights show up very well, and thank everybody for turning them on, will you?
You sure will, John.
The world had turned its lights and its heart on. Across the dark Pacific and into the sunrise off the California coast.
And just as I looked back up out the window, I had literally thousands of small luminous particles swirling around the capsule and going away from me at maybe 3 to 5 miles per hour.
Across the United States in 8 minutes. White Sands, New Mexico, Corpus Christi, Texas, Eglin, Florida, Cape Canaveral. The flight continues. Orbit number 2, around the world in 88 minutes. In Mercury control, a decision. Commit the spacecraft to a third orbit.
Good afternoon, 7. Reading you loud and clear. Roger, this is Friendship 7 has the Cape in sight down there. It looks real fine from up here.
I can see the whole state of Florida just laid out like on a map. Beautiful. Even from this position out here, I can still see clear back to the Mississippi Delta.
Orbit number 3. Out in the Atlantic, the recovery forces are ready. The Atlantic. Columbus crossed it in 3 months. Lindbergh in 33.5 hours. John Glenn in 14 minutes. For the third time, the Mercury Tracking Network receives complete data from the spacecraft. Data which is instantly transmitted to the Goddard Space Flight Center near Washington, fed into the computers for reduction and immediate retransmission to Mercury Control at Cape Canaveral. The entire process requires less than 30 seconds. At Cape Canaveral, the time is 1:43 p.m. At Mouchet, Australia, it's 1:43 a.m. But no one is asleep.
This is Friendship 7. In 45 more seconds, I'd like to have you send a message for me, please. Over. I want you to send a message to the director, or to the commandant, U.S. Marine Corps in Washington. Tell him I have my 4 hours required flight time in for the month, and request flight jet be established for me. Over.
For the third time, John Glenn sees the sun rise out of the trackless Pacific. Then it is time to fire the retro rockets that will slow the spacecraft and bring it back to Earth.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire.
Roger. Retros are firing.
Yeah, baby.
Are they ever? It feels like I'm going back toward Hawaii.
The Mercury team at Cape Canaveral reaches a crucial decision.
Texas Capcom Cape Flight.
Go ahead, Cape Flight, go ahead.
We have decided to re-enter with the pack on. He will have to crank in the periscope manually and override manually the 05G relay, which should be at a ground elapsed time of 044353. Can you give him that message, please, Glyman?
Roger, we can do. While you're doing that, we're not sure whether or not your landing bag has deployed. We feel it's far safer to re-enter with the retro package on. We see no difficulty at this time in that package re-entry. Over.
Roger. Understand.
As the spacecraft arcs down over the United States, the minutes seem like hours.
This is Friendship 7, a real fireball outside. Okay, Friendship 7, do you receive? Over. Okay, we're through the peak G now.
7, this is Cape. What's your general condition? You feeling pretty well?
My condition is good, but that was a real fireball, boy. I had great chunks of that retro pack breaking off all the way through.
7, this is Cape. As you in, you will be within 1 mile of the uprange destroyer. Recovery weather is very good. Over.
Roger, understand. Friendship 7, going to drogue early. It's a rocky clearance. Drogue came out. Drogue is out. Roger, drogue came out at 30,000 in about a 90-degree yaw.
Roger, is the drogue holding on?
Roger, drogue looks good. Roger, re-entry checklist complete. Standing by for main at 10.
Roger.
Coming down on 10, snorkels are open.
Roger, understand. Snorkels open.
Roger. Main chute is on green. Chute is out in reach condition at 10,800 feet and beautiful chute. Chute looks good. On O2 emergency and the chute looks very good. The rate of descent has gone to about 4.2 feet per second. The chute looks very good. This is Friendship 7 standing by for impact.
John Glenn had kept, as Columbus and Magellan, Sir Francis Drake and the Wright brothers kept before him, a rendezvous in time and history and the forward march of man. After 4 hours and 56 minutes in space, John Glenn and Friendship 7 returned to Earth. hours and 56 minutes in space as the representative of all the members of the Mercury team, all the people of America, and all men who treasure freedom everywhere. The voyage of Friendship 7 marked only the end of the beginning of free man's exploration of the vast, infinite ocean of space.
At 4 o'clock in the morning on June 3rd, two men arose in Florida. They began preparing for their day's work, as they had since June a year ago. Jim McDivitt, command pilot of Gemini 4. Ed White, pilot in the right seat. For the next few hours, they would systematically progress toward launch. The steps were now a normal routine. They had done them again and again. They had practiced flying Gemini 4 in a simulator. They had practiced emergency aborts. They had their temperature and blood pressure taken. One day in St. Louis, as part of the 1,001 things the crew did, McDivitt disassembled the locking mechanism of the spacecraft hatch. Later today, that would become important. But it was now June 3rd. A year had ended for these men. A year devoted to a single goal, flying a 4-day mission in Gemini 4. In America's first long-duration mission, Gemini 4 would complete 62 revolutions. The flight plan called for the spacecraft to be inserted into orbit at 32.5 degrees north latitude at 185 statute miles in altitude over Bermuda. People were already adding a new word to their vocabularies, EVA. It stood for extravehicular activity. Some were uncertain whether you said EVA or EVA, but regardless of the pronunciation, it would become an abbreviation of our time. The flight plan called for EVA to begin on the second orbit. Somewhere over Hawaii, the pilot was to open the hatch of a depressurized cabin and stand up. Over the west coast of the United States, he would leave the spacecraft and expose himself to space. For 12 minutes, he would perform maneuvers over the United States. He would return to Gemini 4 and continue the mission as the spacecraft neared the night side of the Earth over the Atlantic. This was the flight plan. A special EVA suit and life support pack had been designed and tested by NASA engineers in the Crew Systems Division. The EVA helmet has 3 visors. The inner visor is the normal suit visor, which seals in suit pressure. Over it are 2 special visors. They are detachable and need not be worn throughout the entire mission. The outer or sun visor is easily recognized from its gold coating. It reflects both visible light and infrared rays. With it attached, only 10% of the sun's visible light is admitted. Beneath the sun visor, but not visible here, is an inner protective visor made of polycarbonate plastic. The Gemini suit has layers of aluminized mylar, nylon, and felt. In combination, they protect the astronaut against temperature and space particles. Special overgloves are worn to guard against extremes of space temperature if the astronaut should grasp the spacecraft during EVA. As the astronaut leaves Gemini, he is attached by a supporting umbilical line, 25 feet long. The umbilical is actually one assembly consisting of 3 elements: a nylon tension line, electrical wiring, and an umbilical line. The nylon line or tether is shorter than the umbilical line. It takes all loads exerted during EVA and can withstand 1,000 pounds of pull. The electrical wiring enables the astronaut to maintain direct communication with his command pilot. It also records biomedical readings for ground surgeons. The umbilical line furnishes oxygen to the suit from the spacecraft's primary oxygen system. The life support pack, mounted on the parachute harness, contains an emergency oxygen bottle. If the umbilical line should fail, the astronaut would have enough oxygen to support him for at least 9 minutes, more than enough time for him to return to the spacecraft safely in an emergency. The pilot also carries a small maneuvering unit during EVA, the so-called space gun. Designed by NASA engineers of the Flight Crew Support Division, the gun provides a limited amount of thrust from compressed oxygen for basic maneuvering experiments. Gemini 4 is counting down on the launch pad. As the count goes into its final 2 hours, the crew arrives at pad 19. There have been no holds. The weather is good. The astronauts enter the elevator and ride it to the Erector White Room, which surrounds Gemini 4. The crew enters the spacecraft. The hatches are sealed. 7:32 Eastern Standard Time. The crew is now at countdown. They begin checking out the spacecraft systems. It is T-minus 100 minutes. The launch vehicle and spacecraft continue the clean count, interrupted only by a balky erector which didn't want to lower properly. That cost us some time, but presented no serious problem. At T-minus 30 minutes, the pad was cleared. Now there is just a spacecraft, launch vehicle, and 2 men on top of it.
All systems are good at this time. The launch control at the Cape. T-minus 10 minutes and counting.
6 minutes before launch. The spacecraft test conductor signed off to the spacecraft with these final words. Okay, Jim, have a good flight.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition.
Lift.
At 10:16 Eastern Standard Time, Gemini 4 was on its way.
We have a roll program initiated.
I know. Flight departs have started. And in sync. Right.
Roll program completed. McDivitt report. And the pitch program has been initiated.
Right.
Mark 50 seconds and we're go. Guidance reports a go. The flight trajectory looks very, very close to right on the nominal value.
Looks good. Flight data pretty noisy, but we're okay. Flight photo, good on Mach 3, a little high.
And Jim McDivitt reports Gemini 4 is go for staging, which will occur in a very few seconds.
Just go.
We have staging, and it's been confirmed here on the ground.
Thrust looks good.
Gemini 4 entered orbit with an insertion velocity of 25,745 feet per second, within 11 feet per second of planned velocity. The apogee of the first orbit was 177.6 statute miles. The perigee, 100.8 statute miles. Command pilot McDivitt started to work at once, attempting to fly an airplane formation with the second stage of the launch vehicle. The full resources of NASA in Houston were on hand to support Gemini 4. From a new 3-storied building, flight controllers at the Manned Spacecraft Center assumed direct control of the mission for the first time in the space program. The mission director now checked the status of a possible rendezvous.
Ask him about his track with the launch vehicle.
Roger. I haven't decided this time. It's directly below me, about 4 or 5 feet up, but it's not talking. Roger.
Everything seemed favorable at that time. But as the first orbit progressed, the second stage of the launch vehicle drew away.
Roger, Private. We still have the booster. We're out quite a ways from it now. It's taken a little more fuel than we had anticipated. To really make a major effort to close this last thing or to save the fuel?
The answer was almost immediate from the mission director.
You might tell him, as far as we're concerned, we want to save the fuel. We're concerned about the lifetime more than we are matching that booster.
Okay.
And that was it. Okay. The second stage of the launch vehicle went on to become simply Space Object 1391. It would burn up over the mid-Atlantic 2 days later.
Gemini 4.
Okay, we're giving you a go for your EVA at this time.
Okay.
The crew started their checklist for EVA, but Command Pilot McDivitt decided not to rush things. He elected to go for EVA on the third revolution.
Hawaii, Gemini 4.
Go ahead, Gemini 4.
Next pass around. I don't think we want to try.
Very good. Tell him we're happy with that.
Next pass around.
Tell him we're happy with that.
Most of the world waited 100 miles below. The crew had completed final preparations. The cabin was depressurized and the hatch open. Coming up on Hawaii, McDivitt reported that he was satisfied and ready to begin EVA.
Sir, you ready to have him get out?
Roger, flight, we're go. He's got some nice elevated rates, which we expected, and he's really speeded it up, but he looks great. Let's go.
Okay. Hawaii. Houston flight.
Houston flight, Hawaii, Capcom, go.
Tell him we're ready to have him get out when he is.
Gemini 4, Hawaii, Capcom. We just had word from Houston. We're ready to have you get out whenever you're ready.
Okay, we've got our go now, is that right?
Affirmative.
Okay, we're still doing a little work right here.
Roger, understand.
Get his status, Hawaii.
Gemini 4, Hawaii, Capcom.
Okay, I'm separating from the spacecraft.
Okay, separate from the spacecraft this time, Hawaii.
Okay, my feet are out.
Okay, let's get out.
I think I'm dragging a little bit, so I don't want to fire the gun yet.
Yeah, don't get out.
Okay, I'm out.
Okay, he's out. He's close to free.
Okay, I put a little roll in, took it right out. Am I in your view, Jimbo?
Well, you know, I can't see it, I'm afraid.
Don't sweat it, I'll come over to you.
Yep, there goes your glove. Now we just let it go.
All right. Okay, I rolled off, and I'm rolling to the right now. Under my own influence. There goes a... Looks like a thermal glove, Jim.
It is, yes.
All right. Now, I've come above the spacecraft. I'm coming back down now. I'm under my own control. Okay, I'm coming over.
It looks beautiful.
I feel like $1 million. Coming back to you. The gun works real good, Jim.
Let me get over here where I can see.
Yeah. Well, I got me upside down. Okay, don't fire the pressure. Dinner now.
Okay. Listen, let me get some numbers for you. I ought to be getting some tremendous pictures of you. Let me try again with the Hasselblad.
Okay, I think I've exhausted my air now.
Stay right there.
I had very good control with it. I just needed more air.
Okay, stand by. Let me take a couple pictures for you, right?
All right.
Tell me what you think.
That's right. Capcom, it's very easy to maneuver with the gun. The only problem I have is I haven't got enough fuel. I've exhausted the fuel now, but I was able to maneuver myself out front of the spacecraft back. I maneuvered right up back on the back of the adapter. Just above Jim, came back very thankful to have the experience to be doing this. I'll bring myself in and put myself out into your view, Jim.
Is he taking pictures?
Okay, do you want me to maneuver for you now, Ed?
No, I think you're doing fine. What I'd like to do is get all the way out, Jim, and get a picture of the whole spacecraft. I don't seem to be doing that.
Yeah, I noticed that. You can't seem to get far enough away.
No.
Texas, remote your air to ground. California, go local.
I'm coming back down on the spacecraft. Listen, it's all the difference in the world with this gun. When that gun was working, I was maneuvering all around.
Just for your information, Ed, we're only down to 48% on our O2.
Okay.
He's got O2 pressure is about 830, so stay right up there.
Let me get a picture of it.
You see the camera here?
Yeah. No, not now. I'm out of it.
Okay, you got about 5 minutes.
Okay, I will let myself go out now.
Gemini 4, Houston.
You know, Ed, the thing about the reference you were talking about looks like it's to your right.
You don't even need one.
Gemini 4, Houston, Capcom.
Guys, this is Jim. What, got any message for us?
The flight director says get back in.
Okay.
One. Where are we over now, Jim?
I don't know. We're coming over the west there, and they want you to come back in now.
Back in?
Back in.
Roger, we've been trying to talk to you for a while here.
Coming in. You got about 4 minutes till Bermuda LOS.
History will record that Command Pilot McDivitt opened the hatch at 2:42 Eastern Standard Time. And a little after 3 o'clock along the eastern seaboard, Pilot White had opened up a new frontier for Americans to explore. In 21½ minutes, EVA was completed. Inside the spacecraft, the crew was faced with a problem. The hatch would not close. That day in St. Louis, when McDivitt took apart the locking mechanism, now paid off. The hatch finally closed. The cabin was repressurized and the mission settled back into its 4-day cycle. The crew was busy stowing the extra equipment.
What do you think, Gun? Said he's busy and he'd rather not talk to us. Roger.
America settled back into its daily routine. TV and radio returned to their regular programs. News reporters and editors concentrated on other stories. Like their earthbound counterparts, the crew settled down to working, eating, sleeping. But most of us have not flown in orbit. It might seem that 2 men in space for 4 days have considerable time hanging over them. What is it like? Your basic job is that of a space test pilot. And like all test pilots, you must follow a careful routine. Each spacecraft system must be checked out on a planned schedule. You verify your readings with ground control. It goes like this.
Roger, give me the status. Give me the battery readouts, please.
Roger, stand by, they're coming.
Gemini 4, you can turn your radiator correction, your secondary pump A off. You've operated it normal. Your radiator looks good.
Roger, is operator normal and secondary pump A off? Secondary looks good.
Okay.
In the past, an astronaut stuck very close to the basic job of flying a mission, performing as many simple experiments as his flight plan permitted. But the 4 days of Gemini 4 gave Command Pilot McDivitt an opportunity to live in space and plan work on a scale impossible before. His flight plan included 11 onboard experiments. For convenience, they may be roughly divided into medical, measurement, and photographic categories. There were 3 medical experiments: in-flight exercise, in-flight phonocardiogram, and bone demineralization. The 5 measurement experiments included measurement of radiation, spacecraft exterior, radiation, spacecraft interior, measurement of the electrostatic charge accumulated on the spacecraft exterior, measurement of the direction and amplitude of the Earth's magnetic field, sextant-type measurements for navigation study. And finally, there were 3 photographic experiments: synoptic weather photography, synoptic terrain photography, Earth limb photography. All 11 experiments are important in increasing our knowledge of how man will live and work in space, but the photographic experiments are visually more interesting to us. As Gemini 4 swept over Africa, it looked down on the ancient Nile Delta from approximately 120 miles in space. In a single photograph, it caught a view that includes portions of 7 countries in which some 25 million people live. Experts identify Alexandria dead center screen at the bottom of the frame. This is Port Said, entrance to the Suez. Tel Aviv and the Dead Sea, with their long historical associations, are left screen. And to the right, almost parallel, lie the Red Sea and the Gulf of Suez. The Earth's limb, or boundary layer of red and blue above the atmosphere, was the subject of another experiment. Reduced to a gray scale by filters, these photographs will be studied with a microdensitometer to determine the excess elevation of the blue limb above the red as an aid in space navigation. The experiments were conducted throughout the entire mission, and all were completed. On the second day, as Gemini 4 came within range of Hawaii, it set a new American space record. Everyone was pretty casual.
I also would like to congratulate the new American space flight record. Congratulations. Roger, we got 5 more to go.
People went to work and returned home. In many parts of the country, it was already summer. With the weekend coming up, the cars were heading for the beach. The mission of Gemini, to live and work in space for 4 days, went on. Food has been planned as a working man's ration. 4 meals a day, 2,600 calories. Laid out on a table, it looks a little different from a regular meal. Plastic packages with bite-sized meals or freeze-dried food to be reconstituted with water. But it was good, solid, everyday fare. Meat, salmon, chocolate pudding, chicken, potato soup. After the first day, the astronauts ate the prescribed 4 meals a day. They would come down with only a portion of the last meal left. But sleep in space required an initial adjustment by the crew. It was somewhat like sleeping out under field conditions. Each astronaut showed individual patterns of response to the new environment, and White seemed to sleep more restfully than McDivitt. During the final 2 days of the mission, Command Pilot McDivitt took a series of formal and informal motion picture shots with a 16-millimeter camera mounted at the pilot's window. The camera turns inward. For a brief moment, we are able to ride tourist class with Gemini 4, watching the crew at work. We catch a glimpse of a space sunrise, flaring in brilliant color over the Earth's horizon. Using the same camera, McDivitt photographed ground objects, including this small island in the Gulf of Mexico off the Texas coast. On another occasion, he photographed approaches to Yuma, Arizona. The detail seen here shows great promise for scientific exploration of the Earth, heretofore impossible. Using this technique, we could chart the major currents of the ocean, study weather patterns, and map the geology of the Earth. Shortly after the new shift came into mission control on the 4th day, the first spacecraft problem arose. The computer did not function.
We'll work on it. We'll give you an answer when we get one.
The malfunction was pinpointed in the 49th revolution. When it did not clear up, Mission Director Christopher Kraft made a decision. Gemini 4 would go to a rolling re-entry. He immediately queried the command pilot.
Hey, Gemini 4, what is your feelings on a rolling re-entry versus a 90-degree bank angle? We're recommending rolling here. Yeah, get the job done, so why don't we go ahead with it?
The 60th revolution, the 4th day, and the computer out, but no problem. The flight surgeons made their final checks. Both men were busy stowing equipment. Now it was the 62nd revolution, coming up on Hawaii. The orbital attitude and maneuver thrusters were fired to assure orbital decay and re-entry if the retrograde rockets did not fire. Now television and radio were back again. A nation paused on a Monday morning, waiting to fly in with the crew of Gemini 4.
Give him an 8-minute mark to retro 5.
Gemini 4, Hawaii, stand by for an 8-minute mark to retro 5. 2, 1, mark. Mark.
Gemini 4 would fly the same type of re-entry as Gemini 2, an earlier unmanned flight. We will illustrate the re-entry of McDivitt with film from that flight. This is an onboard camera, Gemini 2, looking through the spacecraft window. The film is reproduced at 4 times normal speed.
Feeling great. How about you?
Gemini 4, Houston, Capcom. Roger, you said you're rolling re-entry? Roger. Your weather is still very good, Jim.
Communications with the ground break off, but the onboard tape recorder is running. We listen to 2 men returning to Earth after 4 days in space.
Look at us. We're making it on fire, too. Yeah. We're making a putting our ionization layer out. They're not reading us anymore now, probably. There goes Florida. Or is that Florida? I believe it is. See it on your side? Yeah. They're red hot, you know. Sit back and relax. We ain't gonna do much about it from here out. No. Get ready for the cheek, Lance. I think we got now about 5. What would you say, Phil? It's only going up in 2. You know, it's kind of nice to have some cheese stuff again. It is. It's making me dizzy going around in circles. Look at the paint coming out my window. Roger, Kickabow. We're just about ready to put the parachute out. Stand by. Okay, parachute's coming. And the read? There's the T-read? And it's a good one, isn't it? There's the read. Nobody can read me now, but does that parachute look great? You're not kidding.
During re-entry, the USS Wasp launched 13 search and recovery aircraft. Gemini 4 splashed down at 12:13 Eastern Standard Time, June 7, 1965. It was sighted by a search aircraft 7 minutes later. Navy frogmen swiftly attached the flotation collar, and at 12:39, Command Pilot McDivitt opened the hatch. Both men took a deep gulp of fresh air. 4 days in space had ended. The command pilot requested a pickup by helicopter, and in a matter of minutes, the prime recovery helicopter had the crew safely on board. They were flown to the deck of the Wasp. Admiral William McCormick, commander of the Western Atlantic Recovery Forces, and his staff offered the first formal congratulations on the flight. A long series of physical examinations would follow in the days ahead. The condition of both astronauts was excellent. While the doctors were examining the crew, another group of men were scrutinizing other data just as closely. The engineers who designed the spacecraft and solved the problems took a hard look at what happened. They analyzed miles of coded tape which spell out each detail of the mission. The results were more than a demonstration of man's ability to go into space and return. Gemini 4 was a major advance in manned spaceflight operations, the first time 2 men had spent 4 days in space. The crew, eating, working, sleeping in space, demonstrated that man can perform a number of functions in the exploration of space in a properly controlled environment and suffer no significant ill effect from extended spaceflight. Colonel White demonstrated that an extravehicular astronaut could travel in a precise manner from point to point. For the first time during an extravehicular activity, the spacecraft was flown with steady control by its command pilot. Colonel McDivitt also performed re-entry under manual control, further evidence that man can circumvent problems which arise by carrying out a primary operation in a straightforward manner. Gemini 4 was an encouraging landmark in relation to the future objectives of both the Gemini and Apollo programs.
Ignition. Liftoff. Lift flight clock start. 3908. Looks good. Flight.
Roger, booster.
Roger. Clock start. Fuel pressure running a little high.
Roger.
Roger. Stand.
How's it looking, guidance?
It's looking good, flight.
Roger. Go, Fido.
Slightly low, no problem.
Roger, Fido. How about you for staging? Thanks.
Tanks are go for staging.
Roger, Capcom. We're go for staging.
Staging.
Roger, staging.
How's our thrust look, booster?
That thrust is looking a little high, flight.
Roger. Okay, stand by for final status check. Booster.
Go.
Retro.
Go.
Fido.
Go.
Guidance. Guidance, you go.
Stand by one, flight.
Surgeon.
Go.
Econ.
Go.
GNC.
Go.
How do you stand, guidance?
I go, flight.
Roger, Capcom. We're go.
Early shutdown.
We have a Seco here, flight. Roger. It's shut down.
Flight Fido, we had cut off. Stand by. Roger, Fido.
Standing by for heavy eyes.
Right, heavy eyes counting over 300 feet per second.
72 and 95.
72 is 2.
Flight Fido, we're no-go. Roger. Capcom, we're no-go. Capcom, we're no-go.
Roger, you are no-go. No-go.
Retro, you got a time here?
Roger, flight, area Charlie at 9+20. Fall angle on the retro, 7 degrees.
Recovery flight.
7 on the retro.
flight.
Roger, we had a 4 here. We're going for area
Roger.
Charlie. We'll be retro firing at 9+20.
Roger, flight.
You give me some weather and access times in that area, please.
No swells, and your call sign Rescue 1, the destroyer is the low. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, retro fire.
Roger, fire 1.
Rocket 2.
This was not an actual Gemini mission. Nobody left the ground. Gemini did not abort. We have simply edited together an isolated launch with shots of the flight controllers simulating that launch. The flight was simulated from an adjacent room in the Mission Control Center, Houston, and like many other things in the space age, flight simulation is done by computers. The primary and backup crew for Gemini 8 will undergo 11 days of such simulated flights before launch day, March 16th. Early in the program, experts sit down and analyze the Gemini 8 flight. They know it is a 3-day mission. Its primary purposes include rendezvous in space with an Agena target vehicle, the first docking in space, and a 2-hour spacewalk by pilot David Scott. The experts then devise problems that could occur, some simple, some quite challenging. They feed these problems into a computer and sit back and see what happens, perhaps with a little glee. At any rate, the crew in the simulator and the controller at the console are given the problem. Both must respond correctly. About 90 problems will be run for the Gemini 8 mission. On the schedule are 2 days devoted to the Agena target vehicle, 4 days devoted to network simulations, and 2 days scheduled for running re-entry simulations, including emergency re-entries. 11 days of problem solving. Most probably none of them would turn up during the flight. But if one should, the crew and the 5,000 people in the ground network that support these 2 men would be ready. Several days before Gemini 8 will leave the ground, the USS Boxer steams toward the primary recovery zone where the mission will normally end. It begins training its complement of officers and men in recovery operations. Instead of launching amphibious strike missions, the Boxer now launches helicopters for search and retrieval of astronauts. On board is the commander of the Western Atlantic Recovery Forces, known as Task Force 140.3. 2 ships, 6 helicopters, and 6 aircraft are assigned to this task force. All 5 manned Gemini flights to date have been recovered as planned in the primary zone. Still, 10 more 54 aircraft and 5,000 additional men will be deployed at different stations around the world for recovery. There are 9 other planned landing areas lying within the 3 major zones of the Eastern Atlantic, the Mid-Pacific, and the Western Pacific. In the Western Pacific, the USS Leonard F. Mason, a destroyer, begins exercises on the retrieval of a boilerplate model of the Gemini spacecraft. The Mason will cover 3 landing areas within Zone 3. It will be backed up by aircraft from Okinawa and Japan. The chief difference between the primary area where the Boxer is stationed and a secondary area such as this is the comprehensiveness of coverage, the number of aircraft, ships, and recovery specialists on station. In addition, a special launch abort area covers the landmass and immediate offshore areas at Cape Kennedy. Recovery teams go out before the astronauts enter the spacecraft in case of an ejected abort from the launch pad or shortly after liftoff. There could be more extreme contingencies. The emergency might be such that a spacecraft could not land in a planned landing area. In a dire emergency, the command pilot might have to fire the retro rockets and come right down. Bare statistics come into play here. The world is 70% water and 30% land. The odds are strongly weighted toward a water landing. Aircraft are stationed at 12 points to locate the spacecraft in this emergency. Any commercial shipping in the area might then be called for assistance to pick up the astronauts. Freighters, oilers, tankers, any ship with heavy hoist equipment could also take the spacecraft aboard. If the crew comes down over land, they would use the ejection seats, leave the spacecraft, and land by parachute. Astronauts have not only a complete survival kit to sustain them, but they are trained to live off the land, even desert and jungle. Whether Gemini comes down over water or land, recovery is planned and coordinated by a NASA team of specialists. They set up the requirements for a mission and work closely with the Department of Defense. DOD then commits the necessary ships and aircraft to do the job. The DOD manager for manned spacecraft support directs worldwide recovery forces. He is in contact with 2 main elements under his command, the Atlantic Recovery Control Center, Cape Kennedy, and the Pacific Recovery Control Center, Hawaii. The red telephone puts him into direct contact with the highest levels of the Department of Defense for further assistance. But all of this, the red telephone and the contingency aircraft off Pago Pago Island, South Pacific, seems remote on the 16th of March. The crew is entering their spacecraft for what has every sign of being a normal flight. At the same time, on Launch Complex 14, the Atlas Agena count is only 25 minutes from liftoff. The Gemini mission is largely based on a successful orbit of the target vehicle. The Agena count has no holes. Right on the nose at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, the Atlas launch vehicle ignites. Atlas has three main propulsion engines which ignite at liftoff. Two are booster engines and one is a sustainer engine. The booster engines cut off first, some 2 minutes, 40 seconds into the flight. The sustainer engine then takes over and propels the Agena to an altitude of 654,190 feet. Two small vernier engines on the Atlas continue to position the Agena properly in the later phases of launch. They cut off at 5 minutes, 6 seconds after liftoff. The Agena propulsion system then inserts the target vehicle into a circular orbit. Today, the flight plan calls for a circular orbit of 161 nautical miles. Something close to that would be acceptable. The Agena propulsion system can be started from the ground and a burn completed to change the orbit. But as the final figures come up to the flight dynamics officer, no in-flight burns will be needed. Agena has hit the planned circular orbit of 161 nautical miles. This is a good beginning for any rendezvous flight. The news is given the crew by the spacecraft communicator. Pilot Scott comes back with just what the doctor ordered. The flight director now calls for launch of Gemini 8 at 11:40 and 59 seconds Eastern Standard Time. Offshore, the launch site recovery forces are fully deployed. They now can only wait like the rest of us.
Stage 2 pre-valve is coming open, 5 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds, mark. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Liftoff. Roger, clock, Gemini. Yes, full credit. We got a roll program. Roger, roll. Good liftoff, 8. That's looking good. Roll is in. We have a pitch program. Roger, pitch program.
The liftoff came as Flight Director Hodge had requested, 11:40 and 59 seconds. Gemini 8 goes into the clouds high above Cape Kennedy. As the spacecraft comes out of the clouds, an aerial chase plane picks it up for a close look at what it's like to ride as a spacecraft crew on top of a booster.
Mark, 50 seconds. You're looking good, 8.
After 50 seconds, the crew releases the restraints which are required for seat ejection. Gemini 8 was inserted into an orbit of 86 nautical miles by 146 nautical miles, very close to the planned values of 86 by 145 nautical miles.
Roger, we have staging, ignition. Roger, staging. Pushing. And we saw the falling fireball there. Yeah.
The launch site aboard is the first contingency that is passed successfully. A carefully trained team has been released and returns to other duties. With two good orbits, target vehicle and spacecraft, Gemini 8 had a head start on rendezvous and docking. The maneuvers for rendezvous would be essentially the same as those performed by Gemini 6. So fast does the space program accelerate that rendezvous was the primary objective of Gemini 6 in December. But 3 months later, it is March and rendezvous almost seems routine. Everyone is focused more on docking. Everyone except those who fly the mission. Then you take things step by step.
This is Gemini Control, Houston. About 2 minutes ago, Neil Armstrong called in over Tananarive, and he was able to confirm at that time that radar lock had been established.
Roger. Do you have solid radar lock on with the Agena? Over.
That's affirmative. We have solid radar lock. Just a second, I'll give you our current range.
Roger, thank you. Sounds good.
We're indicating 158 miles range and elevation of about 4 degrees.
After radar lock-on, the crew will circularize their orbit inside that of the target vehicle. Meantime, the ground does not sit still, idly waiting for something to happen. Recovery forces are constantly shifting in response to the orbit of the spacecraft, changing station according to a detailed recovery plan. The USS Cochrane, a destroyer in the mid-Pacific, takes position for a 4-4 recovery. That is, recovery in the 4th revolution in Zone 4. Zone 3 will be the planned landing zone for the next 3 revolutions, for 5, 6, and 7. After that, Gemini 8 will not be over a planned landing area again until the 10th revolution. Then it passes over the Eastern Atlantic Zone. If an emergency occurs in the 8th or 9th revolution, the spacecraft will land in a contingency area. Recovery is supported there by aircraft and available commercial shipping. But right now, much of this seems academic. The crew has other business.
Okay, we've got a visual on the Agena at 76 miles.
Roger, understand. Visual, Agena 76 miles.
Hello, Houston. This is Gemini 8. We're station keeping on the Agena at about 150 feet. Way to go, partner.
You done it, boy. You done it. Good job.
2 to 10.
Boy, look at that sucker.
That's beautiful. See the dipole?
Do I ever? I see everything with that fella.
Man, that's great.
Man, that is really slick.
A bit of all right.
Okay, the first thing we really have to do, platform parallelism, 650 to 710. And they're giving us the SPC loaded yaw maneuver. It looks like at nominal time. So they're going to give you that time. Now check your little status display for you. I bet those Lockheed guys are just jumping up and down.
The S10 is on.
Yeah.
Okay.
We are looking at the left or command pilot's window as the station keeping exercise with Agena begins. Gemini 8 had no difficulty in maneuvering in the vicinity of the Agena. The onboard film, as in past flights, was at 6 frames per second and is being projected at 4 times that speed. After station keeping for 35 minutes, Command Pilot Armstrong begins to move in closer to Agena, preparing his final docking approach. Both vehicles are traveling at approximately 17,500 miles per hour. We are looking at the target docking adapter end of the Agena. The command pilot makes a docking approach by applying very small thrust increases to Gemini 8. The maximum velocity difference between the 2 vehicles at docking will be about 1 foot per second. When the command pilot is about 2 feet from the Agena, he will pause until he gets a go from the Rose-Knot Victor. The double check has been completed.
Okay, Gemini 8, we have TM solid. You're looking good on the ground. Go ahead and dock. I think we're going to hold off on this SPC thing until he does get docked.
Okay, go ahead with your memory compare.
Roger.
Let's know what you get out of that.
Flight, we are docked.
That was it. 2 vehicles docked for the first time in space. Shortly after docking, the crew was slightly surprised when Jim Lovell, the spacecraft communicator, checked in with this caution.
Go ahead.
All right.
Roger, 8, reading you loud and clear. I have some information for you. Ready to copy?
Stand by. What kind of information is it?
If you run into trouble and the attitude control system of the Agena goes wild, just send in command 400 to turn it off and take control with the spacecraft. Did you copy that?
Roger, we understand.
It was a routine check. You punch 400 into the onboard computer. This automatically turns off the attitude control system of the Agena. If the problem is Agena control, that ends it. And the Mason was between stations. It had left 5-3 and was headed for a 6-3 recovery zone. Since we were in the 5th revolution, the retrofire experts were routinely updating their retrofire times. These are usually planned for 6 revolutions ahead and stored in the onboard computer. It was about this time that Jim Lovell almost qualified as the space prophet of the year. For 7 hours after liftoff and 27 minutes of normal docking, an excessive yaw and roll motion occurred. Struggling to regain control, Mr. Armstrong was forced to fire the re-entry thrusters and gradually reasserted control over the spacecraft. Neither crewman experienced any loss of orientation. Gemini never approached a critical structural strain. Once the re-entry thrusters are fired, there is the possibility of fuel leakage in orbit, leaking of fuel essential for re-entry. The flight had been highly successful through 27 minutes of docking, but final action rests squarely on the shoulders of this man, the flight director. A decision came quickly. Fuel readings were too low. Abort. That was the first decision. Others follow. Where do we recover? A stream of facts flow into Flight Director Hodges' console. Exact orbital position. Weather in the Pacific. Available daylight in recovery zones. And the whereabouts of the USS Mason. A destroyer which had repetitiously practiced picking up a boilerplate model of Gemini in the waters of the Pacific came into its own. Millions of people suddenly learned that it existed. With Gemini stabilized in flight, there were several advantages to delaying re-entry for another orbit. The retrofire officer would have an exact reading on retrofire times, and the crew could prepare for re-entry, and aircraft could be on station at splashdown. This is the way it would be. The NASA coordinator leans over toward the DOD console. We want to recover in 7-3. The DOD manager immediately punches the button, which puts him in contact with Pacific Recovery Control, Hawaii. Hawaii alerts the captain of the Mason. He swings around and heads for 7-3, making 30 knots. Search aircraft scramble from Okinawa. They will be over the predicted landing point 10 minutes before the spacecraft splashes down. As Gemini 8 begins its 7th and final revolution, weather is excellent in the splashdown area. The crew is busy. The command pilot has time for only this brief reflection. I'd like to argue with them about going home, but I don't know how we can. That was all. Gemini 8 sweeps past Ascension Island. Retrofire will come up over Kano, Nigeria. Air-to-ground communications are broken, but the rockets fire right on the nose. The crew begins their descent through the atmosphere. This is the view they will see for a long time, the high peaks of the Himalayas. After these forbidding mountains, the sweep of the Pacific will look friendly and hospitable. Waiting for Gemini 8 are rescue aircraft circling in the landing area, ready to pick up an electronic signal from the spacecraft. 2 aircraft from Okinawa were originally assigned here, but 5 others were quickly alerted and added to the recovery team. When Gemini 8 is only 3 miles away, a C-54 catches sight of it on the main landing parachute. After that, landing is almost routine, and Gemini 8 landed within 2 miles of the predicted impact point. The first pararescue swimmer in the water is Airman First Class Neal. Airman Neal is a veteran of combat rescue work and a good man to have on your side. He was quickly followed by 2 other rescue swimmers. It was early afternoon in the Pacific, but almost 11 o'clock at night in the Atlantic, where the USS Boxer had waited. The Mason, 3 hours away at splashdown. reached the area at 3:17 p.m. local time. Crew and spacecraft, both in good shape, were soon aboard. Within 72 hours, NASA scientists would pin down the source of trouble. A short circuit in the wiring of the number 8 yaw thruster had caused it to fire erratically. The possibility of this failure recurring is slight, but a master switch has now been added to the Gemini spacecraft. The crew can throw this switch and cut off all power to the attitude thrusters in any future flight. Once the difficulty was corrected, we could take time out to realize that Gemini 8 had brought us closer to lunar exploration by demonstrating the first successful dock in space. Gemini 8 also gave many of us our first look at men like the 3 young rescue swimmers, Airman Neal and Moore and Staff Sergeant Hewitt, as well as the captain and crew of the Mason. Men who are there in every flight, on remote stations, doing their duty and doing it well. It was these men who sighted Gemini 8 on the parachute and took the crew and spacecraft safely aboard the Mason. At that point, we knew that the long months of training and the many simulations and the close interplay between NASA and the Department of Defense were sound. The mission is ended. The control room is empty, but it will soon fill up again as simulations begin for the next flight. We had achieved our first docking in space. We experienced our first orbital abort. In both cases, Gemini 8 came through with flying colors.
Flight. Okay, engine stop. APA at a descent. Mode control both auto. Descent engine command override off. Engine arm off. 13 is in.
We copy you down, Eagle.
Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot.
And we're getting a picture on the TV. There's a great deal of contrast in it, and currently it's upside down on our monitor, but we can make out a fair amount of detail. Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now.
Sunday, July 20th, 1969. Around the world, nearly 1 billion people watched this moment on television as the first man from Earth prepared to set foot upon the moon.
At the foot of the ladder, the LEM footbeds are only depressed in the surface about 1 or 2 inches, although the surface appears to be very, very fine-grained as you get close to it. It's almost like a powder. Ground mass is very fine. I'm going to step off the LEM now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth.
All that we have accomplished in space, all that we may accomplish in days and years to come, we stand ready to share for the benefit of all mankind.
As we explore the reaches of space, let us go to the new worlds together, not as new worlds to be conquered, but as a new adventure to be shared.
Since the earliest time, man has imagined this moment, the moment when his fellow man would make the first journey to the moon. Now the time had come. In the 6th decade of the 20th century, the ancient dream was to become a reality. The flight of Apollo 11 was the culmination of many years of planning, working, building, and testing. Thousands of people had contributed toward this day of accomplishment. The great Saturn V rocket and the complex Apollo spacecraft had been assembled together and moved to the launch pad. The equipment and techniques and personnel had been proved in earlier missions, and now they were ready. The astronauts chosen for this mission had flown it many times in ground-based simulators. They had all been in space before. They had trained carefully and well, and now they too were ready. Astronaut Michael Collins would pilot the Apollo Command Module. Astronaut Edwin Aldrin Jr. would pilot the Lunar Module. And astronaut Neil Armstrong would serve as mission commander. Armstrong would be the first man to step upon the moon. July 16th, the day had come. The moon awaited. Other astronauts had made this journey to the launch pad, but never with such anticipation. 9:32 a.m., July 16th. Three hours later, the Apollo Command Module moves forward to extract the Lunar Module from the third stage of the launch vehicle. Both are moving at more than 17,000 miles an hour. Docked together, they will sail 250,000 miles across the sea of space and into orbit around the Earth's nearest neighbor.
Oh, loud and clear now, Mike, and we understand that you are docked.
During the 3-day journey to the moon, the astronauts kept busy. Checklists, navigation and observation, housekeeping. They must work in a weightless environment, keeping their spacecraft and themselves in good condition. Data must be collected and reported. Experiments must be performed, including photography both inside and outside the spacecraft. Because of the film speed, these actions appear faster than they actually were. July 19th. Apollo 11 slows down and goes into orbit around the moon. The bright blue planet of Earth now lies 238,000 miles beyond the lunar horizon. Astronauts Armstrong and Aldrin, now in the lunar module, separate from the command module. Astronaut Collins remains behind. Preparation for the lunar module descent to the moon now begins. The command module assumes the new name, Columbia. The lunar module will be called the Eagle. From Columbia, Michael Collins' camera sees bright rays of the sun reflecting patterns of color from the surface of the Eagle. In this strange metallic bird rides the ancient and endless dream of all mankind. The command pilot can see detail which his camera cannot record. The 4 landing pads of the lunar module are fully extended and locked in place. The Eagle is poised and prepared for its descent to the lunar surface. The moon landing craft rocket engine fires to slow it down and to place it on the pathway to the landing site in the Sea of Tranquility. There is tension and caution as the Eagle flies lower. Warning lights blink on as the computer tries to keep up with the demand for control data, but the status remains go.
Eagle, we got you now. It's looking good, over.
Roger, copy.
Eagle, Houston, after yaw around angles, S-band pitch, -9er, yaw, +18. Roger, you're a go to continue power descent. You're a go to continue power descent.
Altitude now 21,000 feet, still looking very good. Velocity down now to 1,200 feet per second.
You're looking great to us, Eagle.
Give us a reading on the 1202 program alarm.
Roger, we got you. We're going at alarm.
Good radar data. We're now in the approach phase, everything looking good. Altitude 4,200.
Houston, you're a go for landing, over.
Roger, understand. Go for landing. 3,000 feet.
Copy.
Alarm.
Altitude 1,600. 1,400 feet, still looking very good.
700 feet, 21 down. 33 degrees. 100 feet down at 19. 1201.
1201. Roger, 1201 alarm. We're go. Same type. We're go.
Altitude, velocity light. 3.5 down. 220 feet. 13 forward. 11 forward, coming down nicely. 200 feet. 4.5 down. 5.5 down.
60 seconds.
Lights on. 6. Down 2.5. Forward. Forward. That's 40 feet down 2.5. Picking up some dust. 4 forward. 4 forward. Drifting to the right a little. That's okay.
Seven hours after landing, after careful preparations for later ascent were completed, Armstrong opens the Eagle hatch and begins his climb down to the surface. The first footsteps on this strange new world must be taken cautiously. The moon has only 1/6 the gravity of Earth. The nature of its surface was still unknown.
I'm going to step off the limb now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Once on the surface, Armstrong scoops up a small sample of lunar dust and rock, precaution against the possibility of an emergency takeoff. According to plan, astronaut Aldrin now descends from the Eagle. He and his equipment would weigh 383 pounds on Earth. Here, they weigh about 66 pounds. brief moment, the first men on the moon stand and look at the stark, lonely landscape around them, an experience which no one before them can share. But there is much to be done in the limited time which they can stay on this airless, cloudless satellite of Earth. This sheet of metal foil traps and holds particles from the sun, the so-called solar wind, or barrage of solar energy, which constantly strikes the moon's surface. Results of this experiment will be taken back to Earth to reveal new secrets to anxious scientists. An American flag is left behind on the moon, together with medals honoring American and Soviet spacemen who lost their lives in earlier space tests, and a small disc carrying messages of goodwill from 73 nations on Earth. A plaque on the lunar module reads, "Here, men from the planet Earth first set foot upon the moon, July 1969 AD. We came in peace for all mankind." Through a specially made television camera, viewers in many nations on Earth were able to watch the astronauts as they walked and worked on the moon. Despite the bulky spacesuits and the backpacks containing oxygen, temperature control, and communications equipment, the Apollo 11 crew found they could move easily about the surface. Because there is no wind or rain on the moon, these footprints will remain for centuries. In addition to collecting rock and soil samples, the explorers leave behind a seismometer. This highly sensitive device would send back valuable information on external meteoroid impacts, as well as internal lunar movements. A 100-prism laser reflector would help man to measure the exact distance from Earth to Moon to an accuracy of 6 inches. These were the first of many experiments which will be taken to the Moon to provide man continuing and increasing knowledge about the Moon and the vastness of space beyond. After 2 hours and 31 minutes, the first lunar explorers had completed their research on the Moon. A night of rest in the lunar module, countdown preparations, and they were ready to come home.
Tranquility Base, Houston. Guidance recommendation is pings, and you're cleared for takeoff.
Roger, understand. We're number 1 on the runway. 7, 6, 5, work stage, engine arm ascent. Beautiful. Very smooth. Very quiet ride. There's that one crater on there.
Thousand feet high, 80 feet per second vertical rise. Eagle Houston, you're looking good at 2. Ping, zags, and misspin all agree.
I'm going right down US1.
Eagle Houston, going right down the track. Everything's great. Horizontal velocity approaching 2,500 feet per second. Roger. Some 120 miles to go until insertion.
July 21st. The Eagle and its 2-man crew lifted off the Moon perfectly and climbed slowly to rendezvous and dock with the mothership, Columbia. While Armstrong and Aldrin explored the moon, astronaut Collins had kept a long and lonely vigil in the Columbia. The approaching Eagle was a welcome sight. Later, the three men would share their reflections on this adventure with the world.
I believe that from the early space flights, we demonstrated a potential to carry out this type of a mission. And again, it was a question of time until this would be accomplished.
I think it's a technical triumph for this country to have said what it was going to do a number of years ago, and then, by golly, do it.
The relative ease with which we were able to carry out our mission, which, of course, came after a very efficient and a logical sequence of flights, I think that this demonstrated that we were certainly on the right track when we took this commitment to go to the moon.
I just see it as a beginning of a new age.
Once again, the bright blue planet of Earth rises over the lunar horizon. For those who had witnessed man's landing in the Sea of Tranquility, the moon would never again appear quite the same. July 24th, dawn in the Pacific. Apollo blazes across the heavens, coming back to Earth at 25,000 miles an hour. President Richard Nixon, who had talked with the astronauts by telephone while they were on the moon, was waiting aboard the recovery carrier to welcome the returning voyagers. The president later expressed the nation's response to this historic mission.
Some way, when those two Americans stepped on the moon, the people of this world were brought closer together. That it is that spirit, the spirit of Apollo, that America can now help to bring to our relations with other nations. The spirit of Apollo transcends geographical barriers and political differences. It can bring the people of the world together in peace.
To protect against any possible lunar contamination, the astronauts put on airtight special garments before coming aboard the rescue ship. They transferred directly from the helicopter to a mobile quarantine van, in which they would be flown back to the Manned Spacecraft Center in Houston, Texas. July 27th. The journey was ended. They were home again. Ahead lay 3 weeks of isolation, medical tests, and mission debriefings. Then visits to major cities of America and abroad. The details of their unique mission would be relived and remembered so that others might learn what they had learned, and that future travelers in space might build upon their experience. The rock and soil samples brought back would be examined and analyzed by scientists in many lands. They would reveal new insights into the origin and the age and the composition of the moon, and perhaps new knowledge of the Earth as well. Already experiments left on the moon were sending back revealing new information. The mission was successfully completed. The Eagle had landed the first men on the moon, and Columbia had returned them safely to Earth. Wherever man journeys tomorrow across the ocean of our universe, history will remind him that Apollo 11 was mankind's first encounter with a new world.